What if one moment, one loss, was enough to make you question everything you ever believed in? Your identity, your dreams, your purpose, gone in an instant. And in that silence, a new question is born. If the world can take everything from me, why should I believe in it at all? That is the psychological breaking point of Obito Uchiha in Naruto. Because Obito's story is not just about becoming a villain, it's about losing yourself so completely that you decide to become someone else. At the beginning, Obito is not powerful. He is not feared. In fact, he is the opposite: optimistic, emotional, and full of belief in people. He dreams of becoming Hokage, not for status, but to be recognized, to matter, to be someone others can rely on. He believes in connection, in teamwork, in doing the right thing even when it's difficult. In many ways, he reflects the same spirit we see in Naruto Uzumaki: hopeful, determined, and driven by a desire to belong. But Obito's world is fragile, because when your identity is built on belief, it is vulnerable to loss. The turning point of his life comes with trauma, not just physical, but emotional. The moment he loses Rin is not just the loss of a person, it is the collapse of his entire worldview. Because Rin represents more than a bond. She represents everything Obito believed in: kindness, connection, purpose. And when she is taken from him, those beliefs don't just weaken, they shatter. This is where his identity begins to fracture. Because when something traumatic happens, the mind searches for meaning. It tries to make sense of the pain, and if it cannot find a reason that aligns with its current beliefs, it creates a new one. For Obito, that new belief is simple but dangerous. The world is broken. Not flawed, not imperfect, broken. And if the world is broken, then the values he once believed in no longer make sense. This is the beginning of his transformation. Because identity is not fixed, it is shaped by experience. And when those experiences are extreme, the identity that forms can be just as extreme. Obito doesn't just change his actions, he changes who he believes he is. He abandons his former self, his former values, his former dreams. And in their place, he adopts a new identity, one aligned with a different vision of reality. A reality where pain does not exist. A reality where loss cannot happen. A reality where he no longer has to feel what he felt in that moment. And this is where his path intersects with Madara Uchiha. Madara offers Obito something powerful, not just a plan, but a framework, a way to make sense of his pain, a way to channel it into something purposeful. And for someone who has lost everything, that kind of clarity is dangerous, because it gives direction to despair. Obito embraces the idea of the infinite Tsukuyomi, not because he wants control for its own sake, but because he wants escape. Escape from reality, escape from pain, escape from the version of himself that could not protect what mattered most. This is where his rebellion against fate becomes clear. Because Obito does not accept what happened. He refuses to accept a world where loss is unavoidable. He refuses to accept a reality where he is powerless to change outcomes. So instead, he tries to replace reality entirely. This is not just rebellion, it's rejection. Rejection of the world. Rejection of his past self. Rejection of the idea that pain has meaning. And in that rejection, he creates a new identity, one that is detached, controlled, and focused entirely on achieving his vision. But here's where the conflict deepens. Because no matter how much Obito tries to distance himself from who he was, that version of him never fully disappears. It remains beneath the surface, in moments of hesitation, in flashes of memory, in the way he reacts to certain people, especially Naruto. Because Naruto represents everything Obito used to be, and that creates internal tension. Because when you see a version of yourself that you abandoned, it forces you to confront a question. Was I wrong? Obito spends much of his journey trying to suppress that question. Because acknowledging it would mean facing the possibility that his entire path was built on a reaction to pain, rather than a solution to it. And that realization is difficult, because it means that everything he has done, everything he has become, may not have been necessary. That his identity was not inevitable, but chosen. And this is where his character becomes deeply human. Because Obito is not just a symbol of destruction, he is a reflection of what happens when pain is left unresolved. When identity is built around trauma, rather than growth. When someone tries to escape their reality, instead of understanding it. But his story does not end in darkness. Because even after everything, there is still a part of him capable of change. And that's important. Because it shows that identity is not permanent. No matter how far you go, no matter how much you change, there is always the possibility of reflection, of realization, of choosing something different. Obito's final moments are not about power, they are about clarity. He begins to see the difference between control and connection, between escaping pain and learning from it, between forcing a perfect world and living in an imperfect one with meaning. And that shift is redemption, not because it erases what he has done, but because it shows growth. It shows awareness. It shows the return of the person he once was. At the end of the day, Obito Uchiha is not just a villain. He is a story about identity, about how quickly it can change, how deeply it can be affected by trauma, and how difficult but possible it is to find your way back. Because the real question is not, what happened to you? It's who did you become because of it? And more importantly, are you willing to change again?